welcome to the newspaper review. I am your host, Fatou George. Today, the Standard newspaper headlines: Barrow predicts 75% NPP victory in 2026. Girigara blames Barrow for Jammeh's interference in Gambian politics. I have no land to return, Esa Fall. Kurang quizzed over possibly prosy buying of Jammeh assets. Now the news in details. President Adama Barrow has expressed confidence in the National People's Party (NPP) prospects in the 2026 elections, predicting 75% landslide victory. Addressing a well-attended NPP women's rally in Janjanbury on Saturday, President Barrow told supporters that the campaign for the 2026 presidential election has started and said his optimism reflects his party's commitment to addressing the needs and concerns of Gambian citizens. We have already started campaigning for 2026 and there is no turning back. We want to silence the opposition before the 2026 presidential election, the president said. Businessman come political activist Panjai Girigara has blamed President Adama Barrow for ignoring former President Yahya Jammeh's continuous interference in Gambian politics. Jammeh, who ruled the Gambia for 22 years, was ousted after the 2016 presidential election when Adama Barrow secured a surprise victory. Despite initially conceding defeat, Jammeh rejected the results days later, triggering a constitutional crisis. But even after Jammeh's exile, many Gambians and political observers have continued to voice fears over his ongoing influence in national affairs. In the last presidential election campaign, Jammeh called Barrow a donkey in one of his now regular audio messages. I appeal to President Barrow to use his powers through the Ministry of Justice to ensure Jammeh's madness is brought to an end as soon as possible. Kurang squeezed over possibly prosy buying of Jammeh assets. The possibility that some of the properties belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh were bought by third-party representatives acting on behalf of prosies came under scrutiny at the ongoing parliamentary inquiry into how assets were disposed of by the Jammeh Commission and other entities. This comes after lead counsel Lamin Diba raised concern about the absence of safeguards by the Commission to vet whether those directly involved in the purchase of tractors and other items were actually buyers or working as prosies. He asked former Commission Secretary Mamadi Kurang, who sold 44 tractors, whether the identities of successful bidders were ascertained. Kurang replied that it was obvious that any buyer would want his or her identity mentioned on the receipt issued or them to avoid any further ownership clarity. The report alleged that a significant tract of land equivalent to over 30 football fields has been quietly parceled out of the Tanje Bat reserved by government to lawyer and politician Esa Fall, Senegalese businessman Khalilou Wage, and Indian businessman Ndakiso Rajwani, among others. The protected bats was first violated by former President Jammeh, who gave it out to a former Ivorian First Lady and later grabbed it for his Kanilai farm. It was, however, recommended by the Jammeh Commission to be returned for its use as protected wildlife resort. However, according to Malegan, the new government decided to allocate it to people. The report spread like a bushfire, prompting calls for the land to be returned to its designated use, a bat sanctuary. Mr. Fall, in a swift response yesterday, said in the first place, he has no land in his possession to return. He admitted, though, that he did attempt to invest in the Gambian tourism sector in 2018 when he was encouraged by the then managing director of the Gambia Tourism Board, GTB, to invest in the country. Mr. Fall stated that he was not allowed to build on the land, nor was his money refunded. Fall's statement concluded with a strong defense of his actions, emphasizing that he followed due process and has never gained access to the land. So I have no land to return, he said. Moving on to sports, a team of under 16 boys and girls representing the Gambia in the Zone 2 Basketball Championship in Guinea set out on a bus for the 1,088-kilometer journey last Tuesday. There were 20 players, 8 girls and 12 boys, 5 officials from the Gambia Basketball Federation, the driver and 2 apprentices were also on board, making a total of 28 people. The bus has a capacity for 59 passengers and was fully air-conditioned. The team, split into 2 male and female categories, was heading to participate in the regional championship, seeking a place in the African Continental Championship in Rwanda later this year. The championship was originally scheduled for Senegal but moved to Guinea. The Gambia Basketball Federation said time and budgetary constraints forced them to take the route. However, many people accuse the government of negligence and improper management of sport funding. The Ministry of Youth and Sport, MOYS, receives the least budget of all ministries, and even though, according to the government, the sector receives more sources of funding, these are never put at the disposal of any of the ministry. Each time sports association requests funding for international trip, MOYS will have to go cap in hand, going back and forth to the Ministry of Finance looking for funds, and will always come back with reduced budget for every given request. Moving on to the Voice newspaper headlines, Dabo calls for unity among Gambians to bring change. Gambia government withdraws Tambedou's nomination due to influence from Nigerian president. Opposition leader Ousainou Darboe has called on Gambians to unite in a bid to bring about change, stating that unity is the only way to realize a change of government. The party leader of the United Democratic Party, UDP, was speaking at a rally organized by the UDP Santayala Women's Group in Farato on Saturday. He tasked the women's group to prioritize a united effort and mobilize support for the party from non-UDP militants, emphasizing that every vote is important. You said the governance of this country will be shifted to better hands in 2026, but talking alone cannot do it. We must work hard for it with good and unified intentions, he said. But if we are divided in our intentions, we can't get what we desire. Then let us unite. Let us not be deniers of our success. We must maintain strong cohesion with our party so that people who trust the party are not disappointed, Darboe added. The UDP leader further states that the larger share of the job to our Barrow administration lies with the women, advising that they must take up the responsibility for a better Gambia. The decision of Gambian government to withdraw the nomination of former Attorney General Abubakar Mariba Tambedou for the position of judge at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, was influenced by Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, government sources have revealed. A credible source who spoke with the Voice newspaper on condition of anonymity disclosed that the development occurred during the 67th ordinary session of ECOWAS in Abuja, Nigeria. The source said Nigerian leader Bola Ahmed Tinubu held a closed-door bilateral talk with Gambian delegates on the matter. It was during these bilateral talks that the Nigerian president demanded that the Gambia should step aside and give Nigerians candidate to run for the ICJ top judge position. According to the source, Dr. Elias was the only African candidate for the position in 2021 but failed to secure the required votes. The source added that even though Tambedou stood a far greater chance to win the position, the Gambian government succumbed to the demand of President Tinubu to withdraw his support for Tambedou's nomination. I can confirm that this whole plea to deny Tambedou the ICJ position was triggered by President Bola Tinubu during the last ECOWAS summit in Abuja, said Dr. Elias. It was during that summit that President Tinubu held a bilateral meeting with President Barrow to convince the Gambia to withdraw its support for Tambedou and back Dr. Elias instead, the source said. In sports, the curtains have officially closed on an electrifying season as North Star AFC outclassed Rockland United with a 2-0 win in a pulsating final to lift the 2024-2025 NBRFA Men's Third Division League trophy at the Farfenni Mini Stadium. The second half brought more fire as North Star kept their momentum alive. A moment came in the 52nd minute when Modou Lamin Cisse calmly slotted home a penalty, doubling the lead and tightening their grip on the championship. The atmosphere was electric with fans on both sides roaring their teams on, but it was North Star's day as they stood tall and unshaken, seeing out the game with professionalism and pride. The North Bank Region Football Association extended its heartfelt appreciation to the Gambia Football Federation GFF for its generous support in providing both the glittering trophy and the cash prizes. The North Bank Region Football Association extended its heartfelt appreciation to the Gambia Football Federation GFF for its generous support in providing both the trophy and the cash prize. Champions North Star AFC proudly walked away with $100,000 while runners-up Rockland United earned $80,000, a huge boost that celebrates the spirit of grassroots football in the region. Now to the Fourier's newspaper headlines. Hurang Falls hiring of American accountants in Janneh Commission. DLEC arrests 23 in week-long anti-drug operation. Farmers denied bail in land dispute. Case aimed fresh charges. Now the news in details. The Gambia Police Force has successfully secured the conviction of two individuals, Usman Jallow and Alassana Jallow, for their involvement in the purchase and possession of forged banknotes. The case was brought before Principal Magistrate Anna O. Mende at the Brikama Magistrate Court, where both defendants pleaded guilty to the charges. Cadet Assistant Superintendent Modou Musa Sisao, the Public Relations Officer of the Gambia Police Force, reported that Usman Jallow was found in possession of counterfeit notes amounting to $2,500. He was sentenced to the fine of $25,000 or, in default of payment, a 2-year prison term. His co-accused Alassana Jallow was convicted for having $265,550 in forged currency and was fined $50,000, also facing a 2-year imprisonment sentence if he fails to pay the fine. The court took an additional step by ordering the Central Bank of the Gambia to destroy all counterfeit notes associated with the case, despite the fact that both convicts were identified as first-time offenders. The court issued strong warnings urging them to refrain from engaging in any similar unlawful activities in the future. This conviction serves as a reminder of the ongoing efforts by law enforcement to combat counterfeiting and maintaining the integrity of the country's currency. The Drug Law Enforcement Agency of the Gambia, DLEC, has arrested 23 people in connection with drug-related offenses with just 1 week. Among the suspects are 22 Gambians and 1 Senegalese national. Usman Sediba, Public Relations Officer of DLEC, said the Senegalese suspect, a 20-year-old man, was arrested in Jakoy Paima village in the West Coast region. He was found with 28 bundles and 1 parcel of cannabis sativa, 2 stones of hashish and 40 ecstasy pills. During the week-long operation, officers seized large amounts of different drugs. These include cannabis sativa in bundles, parcels, wraps, and other quantities. Sediba said DLEC filed 5 new drug-related cases during the week. 4 of these were for possession of prohibited drugs, while 1 was the drug trafficking, all under the Drug Control Act of 2023. According to Sediba, the agency remains committed to tackling the illegal drug trade and protecting communities from its harmful effects. He added that with the growing presence of high-grade synthetic drugs like ecstasy, Molly and Kush, DLEC is adjusting the operations to stay ahead of traffickers and bring offenders to justice. A group of men from village of Njoro Jarol in the West Coast region have been remanded at the Mile 2 Central Prison after Magistrate MS Dem of the Brikama Magistrate Court granted a prosecution request to deny them bail on Thursday, July 17, 2025. The farmers accused of violating a district tribunal's order by farming on dispute land are now facing new charges under the Criminal Offence Act. The amended charges now divide the accused into two groups based on the dates of the alleged offences. On count 1, Alhaji Job, Abdullah Job and Bala Job are charged with disobedience of lawful orders under Section 116 of the Criminal Code. 2. Laws of the Gambia, Revised Edition 2009. The prosecution alleged about April 29, 2024, the three men deliberately disobeyed the order of the Fonyi General District Tribunal Court, which had instructed all parties to maintain peace and avoid interfering with the land in question. On count 2, Anam Bay, Salif Job, Mohamed Sow, Biran Bay, Mam Jai, Modu Tala Job, and Abdullah Sala face charges under Section 109 of the Criminal Offences Act 2025, also for disobedience of lawful orders. The prosecution claims that these individuals violated restraining orders issued by both the Fonyi General District Tribunal and the Brikama Magistrate Court on July 15 and 16, 2025 by assessing or interfering with the same contested property. The court hereby grants the prosecution's objection to bail. The magistrate ruled remanding the defendants until the next hearing date. The case is expected to resume on Monday, July 21, 2025 for further proceedings. Alhaji Mamadi Kurang, former secretary to the Janneh Commission, has sharply criticized the decision to bring in American accountants to conduct forensic audits in the Gambia, saying the move sidelined qualified local professionals and came at a steep financial cost to the country. Testifying on Thursday, July 17, 2025, during his second appearance before the National Assembly's Special Select Committee, probing the sale of assets linked to former President Yahya A.J.J. Jammeh and his close associates, Mr. Kurang questioned both the rationale and impact of hiring foreign consultants who he said were paid $1,500 per hour. They brought three accountants from America to work on NAWEC, Mr. Kurang said. As someone in the accounting profession with a UK qualification, ACCA certified, I question why qualified Gambians like myself and others were not given the same opportunity. Mr. Kurang said the issue of hiring foreign accountants was one of the matters he raised in a memo titled Petition to the Lead Counsel of the Commission, Ami Bensouda. A 5-day capacity building training for foresters and agriculturalists on the use of Geographic Information System, GIS, and remote sensing technologies to monitor deforestation and forest degradation ended on Friday, 18 July at the Gambia National Climate Action Center, located at the University of the Gambia's Kanifing campus. The training was held under the Transformative Pilot Project on Monitoring, Reporting and Verifications, MRV, of the Climate Mitigation Actions for Deforestation and Forest Degradation in collaboration with the Department of Forestry. It was funded by a Canadian Ministry of Environment and Climate Change as part of Canada's broader support for climate adaptation and mitigation in the West Africa sub-region, the key aim in the West Africa sub-region. This is all we have for you in our today's news review. Do stay tuned for more newspapers review. I remain your host, Fatou George.